problems that he's having, and you can point to a lot of things in the past, but primarily in recent memory. If we were to sit there, guys, and I was in studio, and we decided to use that big board behind Kerry, and we put up a mugshot of all of these guys getting arrested and finding themselves in trouble, over 90% of them would be black. Now, some people look at it and they say, well, let's keep in mind that nearly 80% of the populace in the National Football League happens to be black. So obviously, if there are NFL players that are getting into these kinds of troubles, a vast majority of them are going to be black, because that's what the NFL primarily consists of, black males. But when we talk about imagery, when we talk about perception, and we see that, and we recognize how much of a profound impact that the NFL has on our society, if for no other reason because of how conspicuous the product is, and it's constantly in our faces, well then what type of message does that send to venues and situations far beyond the NFL? That's my concern, because I want to sit there and I want to highlight and make sure that everybody knows that most black folk don't act like that. Most black folk aren't engaged in that kind of behavior. Most black folks aren't doing X, Y, and Z. But when we see, if we were to see these mugshots, and we see the names, and we see who these individuals are, what's the look? What's the perception? And that's my concern, which is why I continuously preach about this. Now, Marshawn Lynch, for example, on a far lighter note, did not get arrested, didn't get in trouble, coach, Skip, we all understand that. He just, to me, did something that was in violation of the NFL. The NFL clearly disagreed and elected not to fine this man. I happen to believe that's a mistake, because when you sit there and snub your nose at authority, what you signed on the dotted line to do, and you circumvent your way around it in obviously a very skillful manner, because he ended up getting fined, ultimately what message does that send? Well, we could have people that buck the system. We could have people that are immune or dismissive of authority. We can have those things going on. And then you see why this kind of stuff happens. Because ultimately, the ultimate detriment is punishment. You're going to pay for the things that you do wrong one way or another. And if we don't continue to send that message, or we don't work diligently to send that message, this is just going to be the tip of the iceberg. More stuff is going to happen. I'm sorry that I have to say that. I know it makes people uncomfortable. The hell with it. You understand? They're not sitting in my position. This is ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. It's alarming. It concerns me a great deal, because the imagery of black men is not looking very good when these players find themselves in trouble. Now, I know the vast majority of NFL players who happen to be black don't act like this, but the few sully it for the many. And that's what's taking place right now. Well, and it really ticks me off.
Stephen, you make great points, and it paints a broad picture, and that's the problem. And most of these young guys in today's world, they don't realize, Charlie Sifford passed away.
Yeah.
Okay?
We talked about it yesterday. Yeah.
And I can remember coming in this league in 1977. Just think about that. 1977, I came in the league. And there were certain positions in the National Football League.
Right.
They were going to make sure that you probably didn't play in their own way. Now, they didn't tell you that. Okay, they didn't quite tell you that, but you had a feeling when you looked around and went, oh, okay. So look at the quarterback. We'll talk about the quarterback. And I think some of these young guys don't realize of all the sacrifices that people have made for them to be in position where they can have a dream and play in the National Football League and experience a lifetime of joy. And what a few are doing right now, they're painting this broad picture, like Stephen H. has said. And I'm an old school guy, and I'm an old soul guy. I get it. And I grew up in the 60s. I was in the civil rights movement. I get all that mess. And when I look at this, it bothers me as well. It really does, because there's a few guys, and all of a sudden, the picture gets painted pretty broad.
Sure.
And these guys are throwing away an opportunity to take care of themselves for the rest of their lives. They don't get it. They don't get it. It's sad.
It is. So